everyone. My name is Stanley Mickelson, and your host of Your Town. I am pleased to introduce David T. Hickox, our Director of DPW. And this was an easy decision considering the winter of 2015 with the snow that we had over the winter, and what better guest than to have our DPW Director. I think the residents of Dartmouth would like to know and to hear more about their Director of the DPW. So, how did your career begin?
Well, my career began with studies at the University of Massachusetts, UMass, Dartmouth. I graduated with a degree in environmental engineering, and went back to Boston, where I grew up, and worked for an engineering consultant for 8 years in the power industry. I worked in the nuclear industry, in fact. My wife and I bought a house in Dartmouth back in 1985, while we were still traveling with Stone & Webster Engineering. And in 1987, the position of town engineer and assistant superintendent, DPW, was available. I applied for it, and the rest is history. So here I am.
Yes. So, interesting, and I always find this question to ask, especially people that like to, that are engineers and handy with their hands and builders. And so did you always tinker as a youngster, and did you always know what you really wanted to do as you grew older?
Yeah, I was fortunate. My father spent a lot of time with me building things, and my father was an engineer. My older brother, as you know, is an engineer. And I'm not sure I realized I was moving to become an engineer, but I certainly built a lot of things, from mechanical, electrical. My father was the type of guy that rather than fixing the lawnmower, he'd put an electric motor on it, and we'd convert our gas lawnmower to an electric lawnmower. So yeah, I was always tinkering and building things, and that's what engineers do.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah, so you were fortunate to have a dad like that too.
I was fortunate, yeah.
That gave you all that
absolutely.
Insight. And,
absolutely.
Well, thank you. So David, what is your day like Monday through Friday? What does it consist of?
Well, it varies. As you know, the DPW handles a wide range of activities, from engineering, administration at my office, through my office. Our water pollution control facility is located there. So the day varies. My department heads, I try to meet with each one every day, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes, to keep track of what's going on, assist them in how I can, in any way I can. A big part of the day is planning, coordinating projects, short-term and long-term projects, and there's a lot of work involved in that. Planning is a big part of the day-to-day activities of the DPW. And again, there's just the phone calls, the emails, as you know. Yeah. So my day is a busy day. There's never a dull moment.
I'm sure.
There's always something to do, and the day goes by quick. I can tell you, you sit there, you look at the clock, and before you know it, it's time to move on.
So do you have, do you have any interaction, collaboration with the State DPW, considering a lot of, our main road through town, Route 6, is basically a state road controlled by the state? Yeah,
we do. Dartmouth's unique in that we have a lot of regional roads that are considered regional type roads. Fons Corner Road is a great example. State road, Fons Corner Road. And we interact with the state and the various levels, from initiating a project, putting in a project request form, saying that, we'd like you to look at this project, we'd like you to work with the town in developing this project, and then ultimately funding the project. Fons Corner Road's a great example where several years ago, SERPED, which is the regional planning organization, did a congestion study of the Fons Corner Road corridor from State Road, from Hathaway Road on State Road to the intersection of Fons Corner and State, and then the full length of Fons Corner Road all the way out to Old Fall River Road. And SERPED made a number of recommendations, presented them to the town, and it was the town's responsibility to take those recommendations and implement them. And so we've been working closely with the state on Fons Corner Road. The first improvement you see, which is the interchange, that work's underway. There are actually 3 more phases to the congestion remediation project. The first phase is the improvements of Fons Corner Road from Route 6 northerly to Cross Road. And that project will tie right into the interchange improvements. That project is scheduled to be advertised in August of this year, and construction will start next year at this time. The big part of that Fons Corner project is we're adding a northbound lane from Route 6 all the way to Cross Road.
People really need to.
Yeah, and we're redesigning all the intersections.
Yes.
So people will be able to get in and out of, for instance, the university to the interchange much easier.
Yes.
The other interesting part of that project is we're adding adaptive signal control, which are computers that monitor the flow of traffic, and they make adjustment to the lights based on the volume. So for instance, in the morning, as the volume's high coming into the university, the adaptive signal control will make adjustments to the lighting to allow that flow of traffic. And in the afternoon, it'll do just the opposite to get people out of there.
It's remarkable with this new technology, how they can move traffic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 other phases of that congestion study. The second phase is commonly referred to as the Tucker Road relocation. That's essentially creating a 4-way intersection at Hathaway Road, taking Tucker Road and directing it through the current library in North Dartmouth in order to form that intersection. That's a big project, and again, that's a regional project, and these regional projects, we work closely with the state, again, in developing the project, but more importantly, finding the funding for the project.
Right.
So,
right. Most importantly.
Always
Always about money, right?
It's a big part of the job.
So this might segue into what we had just talked about, our DPW with the state, but I know you work with other departments in town, and so how do you collaborate daily or weekly or monthly with all the other departments?
Sure. Well, one of the functions, one of the divisions of the DPW is engineering. And, you know, on a day-to-day basis, our engineering division coordinates with conservation, for example, planning, building. We review all plans that come through the town, our engineering division, and particularly conservation, any type of work that's involved near the wetlands, planning, commercial development, anything relating to utilities. So that's most of the interaction we have. Of course, we assist other departments whenever we can. We've spent a great deal of time helping out the police department with the work that's been going on next door. So we're available to assist whenever we can. Again, our work's the priority, but when we can make time to do a small project at COA or at the library, for Parks and Recreation, we try to assist.
Yeah, which is important. They can count on you and your expertise, which is most important. Time-saving, money-saving.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you have some fond memories about projects you've championed. Any one project that you will always remember that's you're most proud of?
Oh, there have been a number of projects. I think one project I will be the most proud of is the project that we initiated in 1999. And that's the improvements and the rehabilitation of the Pave Causeway. It's been a very difficult project in that it's not a regional project, meaning the folks up in Boston, Taunton, Mass Highway, there's been very little interest in funding a project that is a local project, but a costly project. So again, we started that project in 1999, and I'm pleased to say we'll be advertising that project in September of this year. And work will begin on that project again next year at this time in the spring of 2016. Over $7 million to do the remediation of the causeway. And we've been fortunate to get funding through an earmark, a federal earmark, which they don't even do anymore. DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, Federal Highway and Mass Highway. Combined $7 million. And it's a good project in that it'll make it the causeway more pedestrian friendly, wider sidewalks, pedestrian lighting, a safer project. As you know, the guardrails on the Pave Causeway, I think would have.
You should explain that, because I know you told me about it originally.
Yeah,
and how you're going to increase that safety issue.
Yeah, one of the factors that we had to push in trying to fund the Pave Causeway was the fact that it's currently unsafe for vehicles. And so the two things we're trying to accomplish with the project is, one, making sure that the road grade is stable. That's an ongoing maintenance issue for the DPW with the road undermining. That's why the pavement always looks a mess out there. But more importantly, folks travel at a pretty good rate of speed, and there are high traffic volumes over that causeway. And so this project will provide Mass DOT standard guardrails, similar to what you see on the Len Gonzalez Bridge. It's a tube steel type guardrail, and that'll protect vehicles from going off in inclement weather, for example.
Right.
And there have been accidents on that causeway in the past. So that's a project that I'll be the most proud of when I see them break ground. I know it's going to be an inconvenience to the folks who use that causeway for a full construction period. Most likely from next May through October, the causeway will be out of commission.
So it'd be really just one summertime.
One full construction
one full
season.
Summertime.
Yeah.
Because I've had some people that remarked, how much time will that be out?
Yeah.
And I think it's important that they understand that that's remarkable that you can do that type of work in that short period of time.
Yeah.
And that all good things are worth the wait.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, I think so too.
Residentially,
it's a difficult project, Stan, in that it's narrow, so we can't keep one lane open.
Right.
And we're essentially excavating everything that's between those walls out of there and replacing it with, engineered material.
But I think you mentioned also to me that you're not removing the stone.
No.
So that you're not going to interrupt anything in the water.
No.
So that's interesting that you're able to do that without, causing any concerns for the environmental side.
Right.
I think that's
and
terrific.
there's a lot of review on this project from the environmental perspective.
Sure. Yeah, which rightfully so.
Absolutely.
And, yes, and I'm glad that does work.
One of the other, and speaking of environmental issues pertaining to that project, one of the environmental benefits of the project is we're actually we're adding 2 culverts on the north end of the causeway, right at the salt pond. So at the intersection of Smith Neck Road and the causeway, you have that salt pond, and it's a natural pond, but it doesn't have a very good tidal flush. And at times it'll be blocked off and it'll become stagnant and there'll be odors. So we're adding culverts under the causeway so that pond will continually flush with the tide.
Nice.
And
so
it'll improve the quality of the pond, the
yeah,
salt pond.
Yeah, and the residents will be able, I would imagine it was more safety issue, will be able to bike and ride over the causeway, as right now it's sometimes difficult to
absolutely.
walk and to ride your bike. A lot of people ride bikes over there.
Yeah, we're not changing the width of the causeway itself, but we are increasing the width of the sidewalk. Right. And our goal there is to reduce the travel lane widths, which normally will reduce the speed that people travel.
Yeah.
If you give someone a wide road, they're going to drive it's a wide road. If you narrow the travel lane down, they'll tend to slow down.
A little more concentration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's terrific.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think also, and I really enjoy this program, is that Pay As You Throw has been such a remarkable endeavor for the town of Dartmouth, and as it segue into different aspects of Pay As You Throw.
It has been, and it's unfortunate the way it came about. And I think the DPW felt the brunt of that from the residents, but if you may recall, there was an override that failed, and as a result, the town implemented Pay As You Throw, and I think a lot of the residents got the sense it was a punishment for not passing the override. But it's everything it was. We were told it would be,
and more so
in dealing with state, and more so.
Yeah.
We effectively cut our waste in half overnight, which is an amazing thing, and it's a good long-term thing for the town. Our recycling again doubled. Environmentally, we're extending the life of Crapo Hill, which is where the town's waste goes, which, by the way, is probably one of the biggest savings, unknown savings, something that most residents aren't aware of,
Right.
is the Crapo Hill landfill, and the cost to dispose of waste there is so low to the community, and so which reflects a tremendous savings to the community. So it's really important that we reduce the amount of waste we generate, and Pay As You Throw has done that.
Yeah.
And we saw about a 5 to 7% increase in our recycling when we went to automated recycling. And so that was, and that was another
I remember when
successful
you
program.
first introduced that with the trucks, and there were some misgivings at town meeting. Should we be doing this or not doing this?
Yeah.
But it was a good decision that we did go with it.
It was a great decision in that we were able to, we were running 4 trucks a day, 4 recycling trucks, manual and semi-automated, and currently we run 2 trucks a day, fully automated. And the reason we are able to do that is because of the container size. A lot of residents only put out the containers once a month.
Right.
And we try to promote that. So if you're recycling, whether it be the fiber or the cold mingled, and your container's less than half full, don't feel like you have to put it out.
Right.
We have a 55% weekly participation rate, or put out rate. So 45% of the residents aren't putting out every week because they don't have to, and that's a good thing. That allows us to run 2 trucks. So there's savings on fuel, equipment, manpower, and that has really helped make the program.
Besides, because it's automated, we less chance of injuries to the workers that are on the truck.
Absolutely.
And so the whole program is just magnificent.
It was a great program.
Yeah. And you
I
should be proud of that too.
Well, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that, but because it's an enterprise fund and residents pay for that service, the Board of Public Works and staff, our focus is really keeping that price as low as we can.
Right.
And we've been fortunate since 2007 when we started the program. We actually lowered the price after that first year, and we've been able to maintain that price for the bags and for the base fee.
Yeah.
So that's important. And the board had actually looked at and we'd explored and evaluated automated solid waste and going to a single stream recycling. But when we looked at those costs, to make a long story short, it would have required the residents to pay a higher base fee, and the board felt this wasn't the time for that.
Yes.
So, but we have looked at that.
Got to go easy on the residents.
Got to go easy on the residents. There are enough, again, keeping costs in control.
Exactly,
and
that's and you do a very good job at it, I must say. What are your long-term goals for the DPW itself? Your facilities and...
Yeah, we're, first of all, we're very fortunate at the DPW. We have a great crew, number of divisions. Everyone comes in and does a great job. So that makes my job much easier. I can depend on, all our department heads and staff. People take pride in what they do. So as far as our long-term goals, we talked about them earlier. My probably one of the most important things I do are the planning and making these long-term projects happen, whether it's a water project or a wastewater project. But my long-term goals are just continuing to see projects advertised and built, whether it's and we have a number of them underway currently. We're developing new water supplies as we speak. The Board of Public Works will be awarding a contract for the installation of 4 new municipal wells, upgrades to our infrastructure to bring in over 500,000 gallons of water a day into our system. Those are the type of long-term goals I have.
Yeah.
And trust me, a project as simple as developing a municipal water supply, many, many years in the making.
Oh, I'm sure.
To get the permits, the environmental permits, the engineering, bidding all the various components of the project.
Let's see here. I have a whole host of things. Oh, interesting is we could again segue into this, the water meter issue. I don't think the residents really understand the scope of what we're trying to do. I think there's some questions about, if I'm not mistaken, you need someone to go in the house, obviously, to change the meters out. And they were wondering why they have to go in the house, but obviously
Yep.
It stands to reason you have to change the
Yep.
meters, but maybe you can explain that to me.
Sure. With the town, the DPW is implementing a new meter read method. It's called AMR, automated meter reading, and essentially what it requires us to do is upgrade all the meters in town. And so we did a full analysis of the meters and the age of the meters, and as a meter gets old, it becomes less accurate, and it never overreads, it underreads. So we can project how much revenue we were losing based on the age of meters in the system. So the decision was made to go to an automatic meter read system. And essentially what that does is, once we replace all the meters, rather than us having to go to your house to read your meter, or even walk into your yard to read the remote read, we're able to just drive down the street with our reader truck. And as we drive down the street, the computer's picking up all the meter reads.
Similar to N-Star or Eversource now.
Exactly,
Yes.
same technology.
Yep.
You could take it one step further, where you could go into a radio read, where we could sit in the office by placing antennas around town and just call in. If you call, you have a question about your water bill, we could call and tell you how much water you're using. So we're moving forward with that technology. It's new technology, but it saves in time to read the meters. But the long-term goals of the Board of Public Works would be to do more frequent billing. For instance, residential meters now, we read every 6 months. So you get a bill twice a year. And for some, that's fine. But for others, you get a bill $300, $400, $500. Maybe you'd rather see it quarterly.
Yeah.
And then, City of New Bedford does it monthly. But it would give the town the flexibility to bill more frequently. And that's a good thing, I think.
The revenue wouldn't change much. It's just that you have the money.
The revenue wouldn't change much. It's just that, the revenue would come in certainly to the town sooner, but it would allow residents to pay more frequently, but less,
shorter,
and make it
shorter
more
amount of money.
manageable.
Sure. And everybody needs to do that. So let me see. Any interesting stories you can share with the residents? Any disappointing projects that you really tried to move forward that they never really you were never really able to fulfill them?
No, I don't have any disappointing projects.
Great.
The only time a project's disappointing is if you can't find the money.
Right. Well, that's basically what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Have you had any experience with that?
I think until recently, and when I say recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, I believe the road maintenance funding was just not where it should be for a town of this size. And we were fortunate that for the 20-year period prior, we were doing significant amount of sewer projects in town. And at the end of a sewer project, we would always pave the road as part of the project. And thank goodness for that, because that's why our roads were in pretty good shape. My only disappointment was just there was never enough money to properly maintain the infrastructure. We're close to a manageable amount right now, combined with the increases in Chapter 90, which is your road maintenance money,
which was
from the state.
Finally was just released by the
new
new governor. Yes.
Governor Baker on his first day
Yeah.
released an additional $100 million,
Yeah.
which reflected about $600,000 increase to the town. And then last week he released $30 million, which related to $177,000 to the town.
Yes.
That combined with our 1.2 Chapter 90 allocation, and then town meeting for the past 4 or 5 years has been appropriating about $500,000 plus, brings us up to the 2.2, 2.3 range, which we've always said was a manageable amount of money for us to use. Could we use more? Absolutely. I'm sad to say there are a lot of residential areas in town that are beyond repair. We go into them and we look around, what can we do? And there's really not a lot you can do, because your sidewalks are beyond repair, your roads are beyond repair, and you can't throw good money at it.
You can't just resurface it.
You can't just resurface it.
It has to be completely redone.
The curb has this much reveal.
Right.
And that's something that we're addressing, and will most likely come to the select board at some point, and may have to look at bonding those type projects.
So do you feel that the select board is appropriating enough money in their budget for, and I know you just said that, but I know we've appropriated a lot more over the year, these past 3 years or 4 years that I know of personally, that than they did in the past, and I think we need as a prerequisite for the board to always try to maintain our road systems. It's extremely important.
Yeah, I think what was helpful was a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, we went before, I think we did 2 years in a row actually. We went before the select board and we presented them with the numbers. You know, how many road miles we had,
Right.
what are the condition of our roads, how much does it cost to keep them where they are, how much does it cost to improve them. You know, our focus, and then what's the best way to spend the money? And our focus has been on, and it's really the way all pavement managers are handling road maintenance is pavement preservation. It's all about taking a good road, a road that's in really good shape, and keeping it in good shape. And people always ask, geez, you know, you just did that road like 3 years ago, and I see you're out there crack sealing it. Well, that's because the road's in good shape. We want to keep it that way. So, yeah, at the DPW, our focus has been a big part of our focus and a big part of where the money spent is in pavement preservation. Our focus has been on the primary roads. If you haven't noticed, we have a couple left. We have Fisher Road, for example, that needs major work. We have Flag Swamp Road, which officially is a town road now, that the legislature approved that. It was,
Someone just mentioned that to me
yeah,
the other day.
it was oddly enough, it had never been accepted by the town. So those are two roads, for example, that need a lot of work.
Yes.
And it's a lot of money. Yeah, we try to extend those dollars by doing preservation.
Yes.
And then, of course, every year we try to pick one road that's beyond repair and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a good thing.
It's a
But
good
that's
thing.
interesting. You mentioned the crack sealing, and you do it in the summertime, obviously. Where
Yeah.
it's most effective. If you had not maintained a good deal of these roads with that crack seal last summer or fall or whenever you did fully crack seal the areas you wanted, with the winter we just experienced, we would have an enormous amount of damage.
Yeah,
more so than we have already.
The key to maintaining the road's integrity is keeping moisture from getting in underneath the pavement, because as soon as moisture gets under the pavement and it freezes, that's when the road starts to degrade.
Right.
And crack sealing, one of the big functions of crack sealing is to seal those big cracks. And because once moisture gets in, it's funny, you can see photos, and what happens is the moisture comes up and it brings the fines up, and that's what causes depressions in the road. So crack sealing is a big component. We try to do about $125,000 a year in crack sealing.
That's great.
One of the newer technologies we've been exploring and have used in the past 2 years is a technology called microsealing or microsurfacing. It's a very thin layer of almost like a sealant. It's an asphalt base, but it has latex, has polymers, and it's flexible.
So, excuse me, is that the new blacktop that you put on Tucker Road?
No, that's Super Pave. That's
see.
different.
Okay.
What we use this microseal on Old Westport Road the summer before last from end to end, and we've also done 2 phases on Chase Road. The remaining end of Chase Road is beyond repair. You have to do a microseal on a road that's in good shape, has good structure, and what it does is it seals the road, and it fills in. It goes down as a slurry, almost like a liquid, and it seals all those micro cracks and keeps the moisture from getting into the pavement.
What is the longevity of that process?
It's about a 10-year. They think it's about a 10-year life. It's a relatively new product. They've been using it all over the country. We've done a lot of research on it. The town was fortunate that we were a recipient of a pilot program where we had the 4 different vendors who provide the material that go in, whether it be fiber or polymer or latex to add to the strength of it. They donated all the material to the town. And so we have the industry, the pavement preservation industry, as well as Mass DOT, monitoring the pavement that we put down, the microseal that we put down, and they report to us as to the longevity.
I guess there was some local connection with UMass Dartmouth with the other process.
With the Super Pave.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Magawa.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, Walla
interesting that
Magawa.
we were part of that.
Yep.
So, what do you feel that we should do as a town to move all of our projects forward? What do you think the residents could do? Could we have a hotline for say bad roads as we had in the winter? Is there some kind of connection that the residents can use to get in touch with you, either by phone or by email?
Sure.
Do you have any of that we could pass on to the residents?
Yeah, social media is a big part of it, and we're always looking at ways to get the information out, and that's something that, I mean, social media's been around for a while, but I think we need to take more advantage of that, the ability to get information out, so people don't have to call us. And for example, there's technologies we're looking at now that has to do with the solid waste recycling. When we have a holiday, you can sign up and we will notify you that it's a holiday week and that your trash shouldn't go out on Wednesday, it should go out on Thursday, or Thursday should be Friday. Or if there's a storm at the beginning of the week and you'd normally put your trash out on Thursday, it may have got delayed by 2 days and put out your trash on Saturday. So I think as we move forward, we want to take advantage of the technology. Phone calls are very difficult. A receptionist answers the call, or has to take it off a machine, then she has to figure out where it needs to go. Then it comes to me, I have to take it off a machine, or whoever, the other department head has to take it off. So that's very time consuming. And particularly during like snow events when we're all really busy, the time is just not there to start returning phone calls to everyone that calls, because the phones literally ring off the hook. So again, social media, getting the word out through electronic media,
Yes,
I think is really important.
And how would they do that? Through through your website or through the town's website?
Yeah, again, we're exploring. The goal would be you go into the town's website and right there you'd be able to click and get all the information you need.
Yeah.
And again, we're looking at technology there, and my understanding is we're very close to having it in-house now, where you can sign up for alerts, sign up for notifications of a program change. But identifying what the common questions are and being able to get that information out is really important.
I think the police have that right now, so it's a great way for the residents to be informed.
Sure, the reverse 911.
Exactly.
For example,
exactly.
Yeah, on a large scale, that's a good thing.
Yeah. This concludes the debut of Your Town. Stay tuned for another episode of Your Town. Hopefully, I will keep you informed and up to date. Thank you.